Hi, this is Jim Cranston from 7 Every Minute and 7everyminute.com, the podcast and website about reimagining your life. Thanks for joining me to talk about, well, some more fundamentals in reimagining your future. So let's get started. If you like what you hear today, please leave a like, subscribe, tell your friends, send me a message. Tonight, we'll be talking again about two more fundamentals. And we should remember that these little fundamentals really help us kind of live a life that we truly enjoy and find fulfilling. So far, we talked about things that we can do to kind of change and improve how we interact with life, and especially how we avoid negative self-talk. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Then we talked about being patient yet persistent when we're learning new things, and also starting with good fundamentals, which is what we're going through now. So tonight, we're going to focus on one really important topic and another simple and fun step to kind of help you to keep moving ahead. So the fun one first. If something's on your, reach your dream list, something you really want to do, then promise yourself that every day, or however often you can do it regularly, and that's an important point, you'll do at least one thing, no matter how small, to move you closer towards your goals. It doesn't have to be huge. And in most cases, it really should not be huge because we're really trying to find that next little step that you need to take to move you along your path towards your vision and your dream life. Because developing the habit of making regular progress, no matter how small, will usually keep you going through difficult times better than having the occasional, huge spurt of binge working for hours towards a goal. People use practicing a musical instrument as an example. I've seen many people talk about how it's more important to practice like guitar. I play guitar right now. I own a guitar, but when I'm practicing, if I practice guitar 15, 20 minutes a day, hopefully a half hour a day, but even 15, 20 minutes a day, that's a lot more useful in developing muscle memory and developing a habit than, sitting down one day a week and trying to play for an hour or an hour and a half. Because that one time, for one thing, because it's such a long time, by the end, you're not usually not very effective. But the other thing is, if you know that after dinner you sit down and you play, even for 10 or 15 minutes, it's a regular thing. It becomes part of your schedule. And if you miss it, well, then kind of something doesn't seem right about the day and you realize, oh yeah, I didn't do that. So same thing with working towards your goals. Do a little tiny work each day and you'll find that it kind of works into your schedule and just becomes a regular thing to do. Just a small task, but make sure you always have another little step kind of in the queue in mind for the next day. So each day you can kind of reward yourself with a little bit of win to celebrate. So we'll have a whole course on ways to make up kind of a reminder list or kind of a life planning list that doesn't seem overwhelming and comes with kind of built-in motivations. We'll talk more about that. But the second item, which is what I really want to focus on today, is to help you clear away all the distractions and truly keep the important things in your life front and center. I totally understand that life is full of distractions. In reality, many of them may be important in one way or another. But the first step is to divide things that you have to do into categories. This is also called an Eisenhower matrix or decision matrix. It was named after General Dwight Eisenhower, who came up with the idea. It's a clever but very simple little idea. Simply, conceptually, divide a square into four pieces, label one column, usually the left column, urgent, the other column, not urgent. Then label one row, it's usually the top row, important, and the other row, not important. And you should see where this is going. Actually, if I can get it up real quick, we should be able to share a screen real quick. And that worked poorly. So let me see where it is. And let me select the window. I apologize for this. And see what this looks like. There it is. Sometimes things go smoothly, sometimes they're a challenge. So this is from Wikimedia. Well, I'll give you a link for that in the comments. But you can see 4 quadrants. We have urgent, not urgent, important, and not important. And so we have quadrant 1. And these are things, they label emergency. I would just say it's things that you have to do. Quadrant 2 is something that you can just kind of put off and defer. You have to do it, but it doesn't have to be done right away. And then down here, things that you can delegate off because they're not important, but you do have to kind of get them done at some point. And then the not urgent and not important ones, kind of like, why are we even doing those? So that's what a Eisenhower matrix look like. And you have these four, like I said, you have these four quadrants. And what you can do with those then is, sorry, I lost something. There we go. We said you have important and urgent, important and not urgent, not important and urgent, and not important and not urgent. So the concept is focus immediately on the important and urgent, the ones in the upper left. Schedule the things that are important and not urgent. That was the other ones in the upper right. So you have right out of the bat, you've taken all the important things that you have to do and think about whether things are really important or not important. But the important ones, you realize, wow, I have 10 things I have to do, and you realize, actually, I only have 2 things I have to do today and 10 things this week, and we'll set those over into the schedule side. So we know we have to attend to them. We know how to attend to them right yet. Then we get the not important. And if it's urgent, you can hand it off to someone else. You can delegate it. Or if you're working alone, you can do it after all the other scheduled tasks, because it's not really that important, but it's something that you should do. Mowing the lawn, something like that. You should do it, and it's kind of important. But if you don't do it today and you do it tomorrow, that's fine. Nothing really is going to change much in life. And then finally, there's the not important and not urgent. Like I said, oops, these are the things that you have to kind of ask yourself, why are they in my life? If they're truly not important and truly not urgent, if it's super fun, then that kind of moves it over into the important category, because fun is important. So if it's just something you're doing because you think you have to do it, then you probably want to reevaluate whether you should even be taking time in your life. So, like I said, this first step is just to determine what even merits getting any focus. Then there's a related step, which I'll just mention here, of doing a similar analysis to see if it's necessary and consistent with your vision and your passion. That's just that kind of drives important, but it's a little different. There's important because life says certain things are important. You have to pay your taxes. Very important thing. If you don't, you get in trouble. Is it consistent with your passion and your vision? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But you still have to deal with it. Then there are these other things that, whether they're important or not, that I have to get a painting done of a landscape by next week. That depends on your person, on yourself. So if you're not a painter and somebody says, hey, let's go do a painting, it's really not important to you at all. But if you're a real painter, somebody who loves to paint, it brings you joy, brings you calmness, it's really important to you. So that's where you have to go through the same thing, the same, is it consistent or not consistent with your vision and your passion, your life passion? So there's another important step to do there. The idea is the same. Like I said, it's on our life planning, our life planning class, we'll go through that, how to take these same things and kind of overlay it over the decision matrix or the Eisenhower matrix. But there's another way too that comes out of taking things that may seem like they're pointless, but actually have personal meaning behind them. We'll talk about that. Think of something like doing laundry. What's the point? You just have to do laundry again in a few days. But perhaps the meaning behind it is that you want to make yourself or your family or whoever feel comfortable and clean when they go out, when they put new clothes on. You want stuff to be washed. So when you look at the laundry basket, now you can see it as an opportunity to do something meaningful, and it's, for your family or yourself. And it's not just some burdensome task that wears you down, but it actually has, the laundry itself may not be important, but what it brings you is important. So another important way to look at things. So now we kind of know how to focus on something, but which thing do we focus on? And so there's multiple answers to this question. It decides on the person, but some that come to mind for me are focus on living towards your life vision. Super important for me, and I think for most of us. Or another way to look at it is focus on what you want. And hopefully what you want is consistent with your life vision. So if it's the next thing you want is to learn Spanish so you can travel in South America and have a close relationship with the people there, because one of your life visions is to travel more, and you want to go to Spanish-speaking countries. Now, the future you want is predicated upon this next step. And so there's another step. And that step you can break down into little smaller steps, like we said before. When you're planning your day, doing one thing a day, you could say, okay, each day I'm going to learn one new adjective and one new verb in Spanish. And that's it. You're just going to learn one of each. And when you focus on the little steps and you focus on the future you want, then things make sense and it's self-motivation to make you want to do it. Another way to look at it is you can focus on what you can influence or control. There's a whole saying about if you can't influence or can't control it, well, then don't even be part of your focus. I don't entirely agree with that. I mean, that works for a lot of people, and I'm not saying it's a wrong approach, but kind of another corollary of that is you can focus on putting yourself in a position where you can influence or control what matters to you. So the two kind of go, it's kind of two views on the same situation. If for some reason you think you can't get yourself in a position where you can influence or control what matters to you, then if you come to that conclusion, it's kind of like, then I just can't worry about it. I can't focus on it because it's driving me nuts, but I know I can't influence and I know I can't control it. Or maybe something that drives you nuts, you say, maybe I can get myself in a position where I can influence it or can control it. Like I said, lots of ways to look how you set your priorities, but that's the really important point is it's you setting priorities for you. They're really all saying the same thing in different ways. The key point is be mindful about choosing what to focus on rather than being distracted into focusing on things that don't really matter to you. Like some examples here. You know your car needs gas. If you don't get it tonight, then it becomes an emergency tomorrow morning. That has to become the priority of your activities, right? This is letting distractions and things determine what you're focusing on. You have the opportunity to look at that and say, oh, it's not really that important to me, but it is urgent. And I don't have anybody else who will get gas in the car for me, and I'm driving past the gas station. I should just do it. And now you make your tomorrow much calmer. You can find yourself in an uncomfortable situation with some activity that doesn't really matter to you. You find yourself in some club and the club really doesn't interest you, but just haven't gotten around to leaving. And some situation comes up, there's a fight between people or whatever, and you just don't want to be involved in it. You have the choice to focus on either working through that situation, if it does have some importance to you, or just leaving that group. You're deciding what to do. It's not just everything that comes up that calls for your attention automatically gets your attention. One more, and we talked about it a little bit before. You know you need to mow the grass, but you have to be up really early tomorrow morning to travel, maybe on your vacation to South America we just talked about. Perhaps you have the option of just having your neighbor's child come over and mow the grass while you're away on vacation, rather than trying to fit it in before you travel. You have the option on a lot of these things to take some decisions up front to help make things better. You're in control. You can make your own life better. And although we picked some very simple examples, I hope you're starting to see how this gives you control over not only how you act, but how much priority you give to each activity and also how you respond to it. I happen to be in kind of an uncomfortable situation right now, something that's totally have nothing to do with anything. And it was really distracting me, like really interfering with my regular schedule and just taking all my time and thinking, oh, what am I going to do about this? And after a couple hours of this, I thought, what am I doing? And I stepped back and went back to the basics and asked myself, is this important to me? Is it urgent? And is it aligned with my life vision? 3 questions, super simple, took me up 3 minutes to do it. And with just those 3 questions, I was able to answer that, yes, there was some importance to it, which is not especially urgent, but most importantly, to my feelings at least, it was totally unaligned with my life vision. That enabled me to realize it's actually someone else's issue, that it could be solved over a period of time, and that the answer is pretty clear cut and not something that should be consuming a significant amount of my time. In a matter of a couple hours, it went from being essentially all consuming to just one of those important but not urgent tasks that could be scheduled and could be safely put right out of my head immediately. And indeed, for most of the day, I've barely thought about it. This sounds really simple, and this technique sounds really simple, but they're very powerful and they're freedom-giving techniques, especially in those cases where someone else is imposing their issues onto you. So while they might seem a little boring at first, if you spend a few minutes thinking through some of your pressing issues, you might just find out that in reality, they aren't pressing issues whatsoever, and they may not even be an issue you have to deal with. And maybe someone else's issue, and that's another whole story. So, like I said, I showed you the little. It was kind of cute from a pictographic standpoint. The little Eisenhower matrix. I'll leave a link to that. It's from Wikimedia. Thank you very much, Wikimedia. And it's under the Creative Commons license by person CMG Lee. Thank you, Mr. or Ms. Lee, for drawing that up. It's rather cute. And like I said, in the comments, I'll leave where that is if you want to see it. There's a lot available online. This one I just picked because it's Creative Commons, and I thought the visuals help burn in your head as to which is which. And it's a really simple technique, and using these and just stepping back, because things like the issue I just talked about is one of those things that 5 minutes before it happened, it was nowhere on the radar. And a short time later, it was all consuming and distracting me from everything I had to do. These things happen in life, whether it's something, more serious like a minor car accident or a not minor car accident or whatever. But in the case of like a minor car accident, yes, you think, oh my God, he ran right through the stop sign. He hit me, he ran through, and that's all you can think about. And I was kind of like, okay, it happened, but now what? There's a path I can do. I've already called the insurance company. They said, go rent a car tomorrow. So I'll call work and say I'll be late, and I'll rent a car tomorrow. And the guy ran a stop sign, but he was really extremely upset and must have apologized 10,000 times. And he just made a mistake, and we all make mistakes. And in reality, it was an old car, even though I like it a lot, but okay. Your mind has now containerized this thing and said, so tomorrow I can do this. So I scheduled it. The other things will happen. Either I or someone else can do it, take the car to the garage to get the body work fixed. And it suddenly becomes a non-issue. Still a task to be done, but it's not this all-consuming thing in your life. Super important, super powerful, super easy to do. So that's it for the evening. I hope you enjoy that. Hope it helps you out a lot, actually. Your homework tonight, no surprise, is to think about some of the tasks you have right now, especially those you may not feel like doing. Write them down and try to categorize them into one of those 4 categories defined by the Eisenhower decision matrix, and write the category next to each one. Remember, it was, something you have to do, something you can schedule, something you can delegate, something you can just eliminate. So write that down. The extra points, of course, if you can then go further and decide if each one is aligned with your life vision, and if not, is it secretly aligned by virtue of helping someone else or accomplishing something that is aligned with your vision. So good luck with that. Lots, it's one of my fun things to do is when you get one of these small tips like this, it seems really simple, but like I said the other day, first I forgot about it and then I thought about it. 3 minutes, change things from thenceforward. So try it out the next time something happens that you're not expecting, or you just feel overwhelmed with all the things you got to do. And you might find suddenly you have calmness in your life where before there was just nothing but concern about everything you had to do. So as always, remember, many places have wars in the world going on. Things are just a mess right now in a lot of ways. But there's ukr7.com. We talk about it all the time. Those are links to the ways to help the people of Ukraine. And to me, it's really important. I hope it's important to you at some level as well. And then the other one is worldcentralkitchen.org, WCK.org. They help people after disasters, typically natural or other disasters, and help get food and basic services back to people. Both these organizations are great, and they work throughout the world. But as we always talk about, there's also organizations probably in your state, your region, your neighborhood, your country, depending where you're looking from, and they can always use your help as well. And if you don't want to work on the national, international stage, there's probably local places that can use your time. And if you're just not in a position where you can donate time or money to one of these groups, remember, even something as simple as a smile can just change someone else's day for the better, maybe even their life, in ways you possibly can't even imagine. So if you can and you're able, please check it out, ukr7.com, worldcentralkitchen.org. But remember, one of the best ways to care for yourself always is care for others. Look outside yourself, see the world in a different way, and highly recommend it. I try and do it on a regular basis. I know sometimes it might sound silly, some of the things I say to do, but it's always refreshing just to see somebody. And today I actually went and had to pay my one of the two taxes in the state we pay each year, one of the two property taxes. And in a place like that, I always go out of my way to try and be especially nice to the people behind the counter, because probably 90% of the people that come in are grumpy that they have to pay their taxes. It's kind of like those people aren't charging you the taxes. So why are you being snooty to them? So you have opportunities every single day to bring a little brightness into somebody's life. I suggest you try it all the time. As always, thank you for stopping by. If you found something interesting or useful, please pass it along. Please subscribe, hit that like button. If not, drop me a comment as to what you'd like to hear. Have a great week. Remember to live the life that you dreamed of, because this is the path to true contentment. Love and encouragement to everyone. See you next week on 7 Every Minute and 7everyminute.com. Thank you.